If you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Whom are you, ask? I am the Wiz. I'm here today with...
Zero.
How you doing today?
I'm doing alright, recovering from a respiratory infection, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's what I dealt with when I got sick last month. It's terrible. You feeling better, though?
Yeah, thankfully, Doc put me on some pretty strong antibiotics and just... it kind of blew up most of the stuff. Now I'm just kind of dealing with the aftermath, which is just hacking crud.
Yeah. We are here today to review the 2008 crime comedy In Bruges, starring Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, and Ray Fiennes, directed by Martin McDonagh. This film is about two hitmen who are sent to Bruges for assignment, while one of them is dealing with what happened at the end of their last assignment. All right, Zero, so let's start with your thoughts on In Bruges.
The movie starts out kind of slow and innocuous, just two hitmen sort of on a weird touristy sort of vacation out in Bruges, and then all of a sudden just it spirals down a very dark road very quickly by the end.
Yeah, what I like about the film is it plays everything in comedy even though it's relatively serious. And I like how it stays that way because this film is just a hilariously dark comedy. And it mixes a crime story with The Odd Couple. Are you aware of The Odd Couple at all?
Yeah, definitely aware of The Odd Couple.
Yeah, so that's kind of the vibe I got from this film. It's like about two hitmen who are like The Odd Couple in a way. But of course, also, the comedy is very un-PC. And I was really surprised by how just foul and how uncaring it is as to who it offends. This was a very funny film. But if you are not into dark comedy, I would have to say that that's kind of a hard sell because the subject matter of the film is dark in itself. But to play it for laughs, especially the things that happen in the film, it really takes somebody to really like dark comedy to actually enjoy this. Do you see somebody who is not into dark comedy being into this movie?
You've definitely got to have a morbid sense of humor to really be in the mood for this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of America bashing as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, not a lot of it, but the poor dwarf in the movie is like, yeah, don't put it against me. In regards to performances, I think all three leads are great. I think they're all got hilarious lines, and they do a very good job in this film. But what is your favorite?
I think my favorite overall is likely going to be Brendan Gleeson.
Really?
Because even though technically just his character is supposed to play a hitman, he's kind of more mentor than hitman. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of weird just seeing him, just sort of go with the personality of a mentor and just constantly telling Ray, hey, I need you to calm down, man. We're here because our boss told us so. Just follow the orders and fucking relax. It's not the fucking end of the world. And then, of course, when you get to the one major point, he then really, really takes up the mentor role.
He's actually a good straight man in this movie, and I think he's funny in spots, too. My favorite performance is also the one that's in it the least, and that's Ray Fiennes. I think he is hilarious when he's finally on screen. He gets in there in the last 2/3 of the movie, and when he's on screen, it's just like, oh, God, it's like a streaming of profanity and just rage that is absolutely hilarious.
Especially just the first sort of hint at Harry's personality is the written message that the hotel co-owner writes down and takes down from him attempting to try to call both of them, and they're both out on the town that evening, and it's just a constant stream of swears. It's just like, hey, I told you to fucking be there, so fucking be there. Where the fuck were you guys? I'm just like, oh, Lord, he is hammering it into him. Oh, my God.
But now that we haven't mentioned him, I thought Colin Farrell was pretty good in this as well. I think he played the part very well as, I guess he was new to being a hitman, and he's incredibly immature, but I think he plays it up very well. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I did have one problem with the film. I think its delving into drama just didn't feel necessary, and it kind of felt out of place as well. They go into a very serious thing by the end of the second act. I question as to why it was there. I would have just rather it be a meandering kind of movie where two hitmen are in Bruges and have to wait for their assignment and then something happens. I just think that the addition of that extra dramatic element didn't work for me. It doesn't hurt the film too much for me, but I just didn't think it really fit.
There were some parts where just things going south sort of just happens all of a sudden. It's almost, I hate to use a term, but it's jumpy and maybe a little bit kind of schizophrenic sometimes. Part of it is just Ray finally finds something that he actually loves and cares about in Bruges, in the character Chloe Villette. He sort of has like a change of heart over the city of Bruges. I get it. It's sort of like a lot of the chaos does involve Ray as well.
Yes.
Because he's got sort of a hair trigger temper as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get, just the scenes where things go completely south, because most of it is due to Ray's temper just being very, very short. In some ways I can see, or I felt that it didn't work too well, but at the same time when I sort of check myself mentally back and go, Ray was the cause of this situation going completely to shit. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I guess it kind of works out. It's just a little bit jumpy sometimes.
I just think that it should have just kept it comedic. What happens with Ray in the movie, I think, it felt off to me, because you're laughing at a lot of the dark stuff in this film. But the one thing that Ray did that caused all of this is something you can't laugh at. Or the film doesn't even attempt to make you laugh at it. To me, it just kind of felt a little odd that there's that one thing that we have to keep seriously, but everything else, as bad as it is, we can laugh at, just kind of felt off to me. To me, it's kind of like, and this is probably a bad example, it's like putting drama into Tropic Thunder. It just wouldn't feel right to have a very serious moment in Tropic Thunder. But in this movie, they attempted that, and for some it worked, and I understand that. It just didn't work with me.
Kind of going the real serious approach on the darker sides of the movie really sort of interrupted the flow, because I definitely like the whole odd couple sort of approach that the movie takes in the beginning.
Yes.
And then it sort of just, once Ray sort of just kind of cuts loose and everything, it's like they just flip a switch and go, okay, we're going to take this down dark roads, and that's just going to be it. And there's not really much hilarious comedy going on. There's some more darker jokes, but it just seems like the pacing just gets thrown completely out the door once the darker stuff starts to be more interspersed.
All right, Zero, so do you recommend In Bruges?
I do, with the caveat that you definitely have to be in the mood for dark humor for it to be an enjoyable watch. If dark humor is not your sort of thing, this movie is just going to come off as weird and maybe senseless.
I would say black humor, because dark is one thing. This film treads in some areas that are like, ooh, it's like that. Should I really be laughing at this? I also would recommend this film. I think this was a hilarious film. I think the three leads were really good. I especially liked Ray Fiennes, but all three leads were great in this film. I said again, I think the dramatic parts kind of felt off, but they're not enough for me to really dog on the film. All right, Zero, so do you recommend In Bruges?
Yes, I do.
We both recommend In Bruges. You can rent that on any streaming service such as Amazon or YouTube whenever you want. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. All right, Zero, so that's the end of this review. On Saturday, I'll be reviewing Klaus, and on Tuesday, Arthur Christmas. Thursday, Zero, what are we reviewing?
The 1990 American Gothic romantic fantasy film, Edward Scissorhands.
That's right, Edward Scissorhands, directed by Tim Burton. I'm watching more and more Tim Burton lately, and I gotta be honest with you, when I was younger, I was not into him at all. But going back into his back catalog, I'm actually surprised how much I'm enjoying his stuff. I watched Beetlejuice for the first time last year. I was surprised how much I really enjoyed it. And I've heard really good things about this. Have you seen this before?
No, it was one of the ones that I had meant to watch when it came out. But of course, my dad was kind of the macho type. It was like, romance, gross.
Yeah, I can see how that be. Like, I wasn't even aware this is a romance. It just looked like a kind of a scary film, but I was never a horror fan, so we'll see. But I've heard great things, and I'm looking forward to it. So, on Saturday, I'll be reviewing Klaus. Tuesday, Arthur Christmas. And on Thursday, me and Zero are reviewing Edward Scissorhands. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Talk to you guys next time. Bye.